Welcome to the episode 82 of the podcast From Stress to Success Blueprint. I'm your host, Lolita. Okie dokie. So let's talk about how we can help ourselves with stress and burnout. But today in the episode, I want to tell you it's not that much about how you can stress yourself by thinking something, but by doing something. And by doing, I mean hanging out with the negative people and involving yourself in some other negative activities. And it's like a no-brainer, right? Stay away from the news. Okay. Or watch good news. Like if there is a channel that's called Good News, watch that. Um, Stay away from negative people. That could be your family members, your friends. They should not even be your friends, to be honest. Your coworkers, and some other people that just happen to be there. But here is the funny part. You could be in the same room over and over and over with someone who, well, not like you can change them. For example, a coworker. You just happen to be always next to them. Like maybe your workplace is right next to theirs. Or you, even if you don't have to sit, but you kind of walking around them and they're always there. How is that you don't hang out with them? Try to separate yourself by maybe listening music. Put your headphones on. I know there are plenty of workplaces now allowed to have headphones on. So if you're in one of them, put them on. It pretty much shows everybody around it that you can hear them. Okay. So that person who wants to talk gossip or just be negative, they're probably not going to talk to you because, well, you're busy. You can't hear them. If you can, just stay away also from friends or acquaintances. They should be just acquaintances. To be honest, it's not even a friend. Those are constantly complaining and constantly not happy and all the time. And if you have a coworker who constantly not happy and complaining, you kind of interrupt them and say, I better go. I'm going to go to the printer right now. Or I'm going to the restroom right now. And I can guarantee you they're not going to follow you there. Okay. I don't think they will be following you to the restroom. Anyway, this is something very similar that I already mentioned in the previous podcast episodes, so you're welcome to listen to those more in detail. I also recommend you to stay away from other things that, well, just kind of remind you of something that happened very negative and painful in your life. For example, I'm from Lithuania, and let me tell you, I left back in 2000 and haven't back since. And I know a lot of people, they're telling me that I really need to go and visit my country, and it's changed so much. But in my heart, my country is US, not Lithuania. Because when I think about going to my childhood country, I immediately get stressed out. It's like a trigger word for me because there was so much of trauma that happened there. I don't want to even get back. It's like a PTSD. Nobody wants to go back to war, isn't it? Not like it was a war, but I mean, you get what I mean. So stay away from the places that remind you of things. Like if you went through a very painful and just emotionally draining marriage and now you're divorced, stay away from that neighborhood. If you have friends that, for example, that remind you of something, well, stay away from those friends. Um, and if you have a family member that you cannot really get rid of, right? Like, well, they're there. Your sister is always your sister, but she, always invites you to come and visit her. Well, maybe just say, I'm not gonna see you every weekend anymore. Maybe do it once a month or even less. So I recommend you to get a piece of paper. Okay, fine, type on the phone, whatever you want, but um have just try to remember what are the people that kind of influence you negatively and what do you need to look for. Let's say you're fine and then that person shows up and then you feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know, but I'm feeling kind of negative, like they leave and you feel lower energy than you were before. They remind you of something or they said something, it just drained you. Put those people on the list and then come up with a plan how you're going to avoid them on how you're going to protect yourself from that negativity. And no, and maybe there are some people who they like not always negative, but sometimes, maybe. So have a plan, what you're going to say, what you're gonna do, where you're gonna go. If they're fine, they're positive and everything's okay, but then they like start saying some negative things that kind of trigger you, have an escape plan. You've probably been in those situations when you're having a conversation with someone and then they say something that make you feel uncomfortable, but then you don't know what to tell them that moment. Later on, when you're like at home at peace in the shower, then you think of something like, oh my gosh, I should have told them this and protected myself like that. And then you're too hard on yourself because they triggered you. Then they kind of made you emotional and you didn't want them to see you emotional. So come up ahead of time, what are you going to say, and your escape strategies to all of those people. And if you think right now, like, well, I don't know, I think I'm pretty good, start observing how other people make you feel. And then kind of like a diary. If you catch yourself that you feel energy dip and you're like, I just did this and that didn't make me feel good, put it on the list. And then one day you sit down and you just really decide, probably better, like, after you already decide that moment what you're going to do. Um, and just take action and stay away from negativity because that's very contagious. It's like yawning, or maybe yawning is more contagious than negativity. So leave me a comment below and tell me, do you have that kind of list, and what is your best strategy how to deal with negative people and negativity in general? If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you like my channel, please subscribe. And next episode, we'll be talking a little bit more about how to avoid those stressful situations.